12 poll today. We want to know whether the law should allow the use of medical marijuana. What do you think? 345-1212 or WKRC.com to vote. Results at 625.
The supporters say it does wonders for people in pain.
But using it could still get you arrested in the tri-state.
One woman's fight to legalize medical marijuana in Ohio. I'm Local 12 reporter Joe Webb, and I'll have that story coming up.
A controversial road show made a stop in Cincinnati this morning.
An outspoken Dayton, Ohio woman has organized a caravan to Columbus to drum up support for legalizing medical marijuana. Local 12's Joe Webb was on hand as Tonya Davis kicked off her campaign at City Hall this morning.
Surrounded by supporters, activist Tonya Davis took her case to City Hall this morning.
I really challenge our lawmakers to step up and do what's right. Show us that we are a compassionate state.
7 western states have legalized medical marijuana. Davis, who suffers from scoliosis, degenerative disc disease, and intestinal problems, has written legislation and is looking for an Ohio sponsor. She says pot has made a big difference in her life.
It's wonderful for pain, anti-inflammatory, for nausea, for gastric problems. For me, it's a good pain medication.
Davis had supporters from both sides of the river this morning, including the producers of Hemp Vision, a Northern Kentucky public access program.
I believe in what she's doing. She's a real soldier. She's going to go all the way up to Columbus, work on medical marijuana.
Tonya Davis says she has a lot of support in her bid to legalize medical marijuana in Ohio. And she may have a lot of support, but it is far from unanimous. Cincinnati Council member Cecil Thomas has pushed for tougher laws on pot possession. Unless it remains a controlled substance, he is not for medical marijuana.
I don't think there's been enough studies to conclude that marijuana in its plant form is a drug that is safe to use.
Davis takes her case on the road for the next 3 days. She'll end up in Columbus Monday.
12 to vote, or you can vote online at WKRC.com. Final results at 11 o'clock tonight.
And I am a medical cannabis patient and advocate. I'm starting a journey today to gather signatures like a mini ballot initiative to show the overwhelming support that we have here in the Cincinnati and tri-state area, Dayton, Springfield, Medina, or not Medina, Columbus. I am very thankful to have everyone that's here with me today. We're going to be gathering supporters along the way. The biggest thing I want to create awareness on, I'm holding in my hand a can that used to hold 11 ounces of medical cannabis. The gentleman that sent this can to me is a successful stockbroker in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for the last 25 years, and I think this is appalling. Our government has allowed for the last 25 years, 12 people to use cannabis as a medicine. Now, it is U.S. grown cannabis, except on the label they call it marijuana cigarettes, so for their purposes, I'll say marijuana. For the last 25 years, the University of Mississippi has sent U.S. grown marijuana to 12 patients scattered all throughout the U.S. I find that insulting because our Constitution says that we are entitled to equal treatment and protection. As a matter of fact, I think that is the only part of the Constitution that hasn't been amended or messed with. Now, 11 ounces that this gentleman gets with 7 others, there's 5 that's dead, that have received every 25 days. Now, we are supposed to be a compassionate country. Every one of our politicians I have spoken to that are in Ohio have basically told me that they care about me. They care about Ken Locke. They care about the patients, and that this war on drugs would not affect us. Well, they're wrong, because it does affect us. I wanted to start this journey, this 5-day journey, down here on Plum Street at the City Hall, because City Councilman Cecil Thomas fought to get the possession of marijuana penalties raised to where you can go to jail for a joint. How do they think that this law that they've put into Cincinnati is not going to affect patients? I don't know. Because this law hurts everybody, and it hurts the sick. The city, I'd say 80% of city council has talked to me and told me that this new law would not hurt patients. Well, it does. And I guess the 6 months is over. They had a sunset clause where they were going to see if it worked, the new penalty rate. And crime rate is raised. Imagine that. My whole point of doing this journey was to educate, to show the public that this isn't made up. Our government is in the position to study it, understand it, research it, produce it. All the science is there. Our government, by them issuing this medicine to the 7 patients that are still living, what they're telling me is they don't care about me. They're telling me that they don't care about Ken. They only care about the 7 that they're issuing this American-grown marijuana. I am proud to announce that an Ohio doctor has finally stepped up and has seen the light as far as he knows his patients use it, he supports the science, and he's asked me to read this public statement. Marijuana products hold great promise to New Testament treatment. I am the independent candidate for governor of Ohio this year. I have an educational background in electrical engineering, chemistry, and medicine. I am a practicing physician in Ohio who treats patients who have injuries, pain, anxiety, depression, incontinence, sexual dysfunction, and socioeconomic issues. Third-party taxpayers of all insurance companies are reluctant to pay for the medications which treat pain, anxiety, depression, incontinence, sexual dysfunction. Pharmaceutical companies search for naturally occurring products worldwide. It is well known that marijuana treats symptoms of nausea, pain, anxiety, and probably other symptoms. While there are hurdles to clear to make medications of natural medications available in Ohio, the path is clear. We must define the delivery system, the diagnoses to treat, criteria for making the diagnoses to avoid ambiguity, and a convenient breathalyzer testing to facilitate roadside testing of someone potentially under the influence of medications such as this. And basically the reason he's saying that is because of the new Druid law. That is totally wrong too. I believe the choice of delivery system will have a large impact on the final acceptability of medications produced from marijuana. Cigarette smoking is a dirty delivery system for nicotine, and marijuana smoking has a stigma and the current status of illegality in Ohio. Physicians, pharmaceutical companies, and potential patients to be treated need to work together to make achievements in Ohio and elsewhere. I am open-minded to this subject and believe that great progress can be made in the near term if all the interested parties can work together. I will support this topic for discussion and progress as Governor of Ohio. I am very thrilled to announce the coming out of the first Ohio doctor. And it's signed James Lundy. Ohio needs to protect the patients that use this medicine under the supervision of a physician. Ohio needs to protect us if we're using this medicine and we have qualifying conditions. I have written new legislation that I am searching for sponsors and co-sponsors that will be called the Ohio Compassionate Act, where it would protect patients like Randy Brush. Randy Brush, folks, he's sitting in the penitentiary now, Pickaway Correctional, for growing 4 cannabis plants. He got a 3-year sentence, $5,000 fine, and 3 years supervised probation after he serves his sentence. He was a first-time offender. This gentleman should not have gone to the penitentiary for using something that our government knows and sends to 7 patients. 7 patients received this and have for the last 25 years. There is the National Organization of Women has stood up against the drug war. This drug war, we need to remove the very sick of the sick. If there is no distribution and trafficking charges, if there's no using this medicine with children, why force me and my intestines to shut down by putting me on the harder narcotics? That makes no sense. Like I said, our legislators, our candidates for governor, our candidates for the Congress, our candidates that are running for the Senate need to step up and protect me, like the state and federal government protect Irv Rosenfeld, the successful stockbroker in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. All I'm asking for is to be allowed to use it in my own home. So I really challenge our lawmakers to step up and do what's right. Show us that we are a compassionate state. Show us that you care about us. Instead of telling me behind closed doors that you care about me and this drug war isn't going to affect me. Bullshit. You guys need to step up, and it's not going to ruin no careers. As a matter of fact, there's thousands of Ohioans now hiding in their back rooms using this as a medicine. I would like to introduce a patient. His name is Ken Locke. He rode across the country on his bicycle, him and Hugh, and to create awareness on medical cannabis. Before the press leaves, I'd like to give you guys the medical or Ohio Compassionate Act that I've written, that I'm proud of, and all it would offer is protection and give us a fighting chance in a court of law. And it would have prevented Randy Brush, the father of a son that just got back from Washington, D.C. for the National Spelling Bee. I would like to introduce Ken Locke.
My name's Ken Locke. I'm from North Carolina. My name's Ken Locke. I'm from Western North Carolina. Our state is facing the same problems that you all are facing here in Ohio. Medical patients need to be taken out of the crossfires that are going on with the drug wars. The drug wars have proven to fail the past 69 years that war has been declared on our own people. All it has done is basically keep the pharmaceutical companies super rich and monopolization of medicines so that they have the only control of medicine. Medical cannabis needs to be recognized. It's been recognized in our history books for over 4,500 years throughout our world history. We can go back. A lot of people say that it causes dysfunctionality, unmotivation, the inability to be productive. Well, this summer I put this bicycle across the United States. Since the government doesn't want to spend tax dollars on clinical research to better ourselves in medicine, I did my own clinical research and I tried to bring on a seizure by pedaling this bicycle across the United States. I was struck in the head by a tree November 13th, 2001. That's why I have this, where they had to remove my skull. They had me on 500 milligram hydrocodone a day, 300 milligrams of Dilantin. I went through 2 major seizures and hospitalized while on pharmaceuticals. I talked to my local doctor about becoming a North Carolina medical guinea pig to be tested with medical cannabis. He said that even his hands are tied in our state. So I dumped both the pharmaceuticals into the toilet nearly 4 years ago, and I have been strictly a cannabis patient since that moment, daily. And I was not able to bring on a seizure. I used cannabis all the way across the United States to prevent seizures, and I did not have a seizure. So the government needs to start doing testing, and you spend millions of dollars on synthetics. We have a natural medicine right here that we don't need to spend millions of dollars of research to find out whether it works or not. We got millions of patients that can step forward and tell you it works.
Yes, I also forgot one thing. If I can. We are heading to the State House. I got the first permit ever got on the High Street lawn for this type of an event, which tells me that they're listening. Now we have to get them to do more than listen. We have to get them to step up. So I invite everyone to please join me on the Ohio State House lawn on October 23rd. That's Monday, from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. And we've got some phenomenal speakers from all over the country. So I really do invite you guys. Now I'm ready to take questions.
What do you hope to accomplish with this caravan?
I'm hoping to gather signatures so that I can take to our legislators and I can show them, hey, these people support us. They know this is the safest medicine. The one thing I have to say, too, is that our government is not going to give something that they can get sued over. They're not. They've never followed up on any of the patients that they send this medicine to. They have never said, how is it working? And they are sending them in cigarette form where they're smoking it. I hope to accomplish gathering sponsors and co-sponsors for this legislation that I've written with the help of the State House. I want to try to gather more doctors that are brave enough to step up. I am so proud of Dr. Lundy for being brave enough to step up. I'm hoping to...
What's your medical condition, if you don't share with us? What's your medical condition that you use medical marijuana?
I'm a domestic violence survivor. I was beaten so bad that I've got domestic violence-induced scoliosis. I've got advanced degenerative disc disease, and I've got massive intestinal problems going on. I've got a crippling terminal disease called pseudohypoparathyroidism. What this disease does is it shuts down. My body doesn't know that my thyroid and my parathyroid work, so I don't absorb the main things I need to survive. So it's severe spasm. The pain is horrific. And they've had me on Vioxx and Celebrex and Extra and all those drugs that actually kill people, and have.
What does the medical marijuana do for you?
It's a wonderful anti-inflammatory. It helps me be able to eat. With inflamed bowel disease, the intestinal stuff going on, I've got inflamed bowel disease, and then I've got adhesions wrapped around my bowel. And imagine, it's trying to, to expand, and then these adhesions are wrapped around it, stopping it. So it's like my body just is in constant spasms. It's wonderful for pain, anti-inflammatory, for nausea, for gastric problems. For me, it's a good pain medication.
You have to do to find it now. You just have to buy it like
I could never afford to buy it, and I could not afford to legally grow it at the risk of going to jail, unless we can get some protection on the books to help me.
Have you had any trouble with the law?
No, and I'll tell you why. Because I don't sit outside and use it. When I can get it from gracious friends, I use it in my home. So I'm not out blatantly trying to break the law. And plus, I'm also trying to change the same law I'm forced to break. You know, I shouldn't be forced in this position. If my doctor supports me, if my town supports me, if I've got qualifying conditions that our science has proved, it'd be different if the science wasn't there. The AFSCME union just recently said that they endorse medical marijuana. The National Organization of Women have said, take this out of the drug war. I am insisting, and it is my God-given right to be taken out of this drug war. I should not be a criminal, and I shouldn't have to put myself at risk trying to get the medicine that makes me feel better. Now, there are hundreds of medications out there for everyone. Medical cannabis does not work for everybody, and I would be lying to you if I told you it would. And Big Pharma knows that. They know it. That's why they have all the different kinds. I really do thank you guys for coming out. Do you have any more questions?
Spell your last name.
B-Y-R-N-E-S.
Okay. Just go by Charles.
Charles.
And what's the name of your TV show?
Yeah, Hemp Rock TV and Hemp Vision.
And tell me about it. What's the purpose of your show?
It's about medical marijuana, industrial hemp, just the unfair marijuana laws, problems that the drugs cause on the streets out here, not just marijuana, but the other drugs, the harder drugs.
And why are you here today?
To support Tonya.
Why so?
I believe in what she's doing. She's a real soldier. She's going to go all the way up to Columbus, work on medical marijuana. She needs it, so many other people do too.
Why are you so? Why is marijuana so important to you in terms of making it legal?
Basically, just the law. Most of the problems around here has to do with the drug war, the violence on our streets, everything. All comes down to the drug money. We're just trying to figure out a way to straighten it out.
My name is Ken Locke. I'm from Western North Carolina. This year, I set out April 7th, 2006 from Folly Beach, South Carolina. I rode across the United States to bring awareness and focus of the damages that the drug war is doing across our United States to families and individuals, especially the families and the children that are being damaged by this drug war. See, I was injured November 13th, 2001 when a poplar tree top broke out and struck me in the skull. It shattered the right front section of my skull and did quite a bit of damage, basically almost knocked my eye out of my head. Went through reconstructive skull surgery and then almost a year of rehabilitation, basically relearning how to walk, run again without tripping over my feet. It was all a learning process, just like being a kid again. For a year and 2 months, I was prescribed pharmaceutical medicines, hydrocodone 500 milligram and a Dilantin 300 milligram daily to take care of my headaches and seizures, feelings that I had that was going on, what they described as symptoms of seizures. While on the pharmaceuticals during that year and 2 months, I went through 2 seizures and hospitalized. If anybody's ever been through a seizure, and it's frightening. It's something that you do not want to have to go through again if you've ever experienced one. So I asked my doctor about medical cannabis, using cannabis as a medicine. That I've read research from Europe and other places around the world that they're doing experiments and research with cannabis as an anti-seizure medicine. And I asked him, with all my own local doctor, with all the technology and all the science that we have today, why could I not become a medical test guinea pig for the state of North Carolina with medical cannabis? He told me that it couldn't be done because his hands were tied and my hands were tied because it was against the law, it's against federal law to use cannabis, and they said it had no medical uses. Kindly upset me that my doctor was taking that stance, because doctors should have an open mind to any avenue of medicine to promote healing should be approached and examined. I mean, that's what research and knowledge and everything is attained by, is that using of that specific species to understand what the hell it does. And they do spend all this other time on pharmaceuticals, man-made chemicals, to see what it does, and we have found that basically anything that man creates has some type of bad side effect. I mean, we cannot be God and make something perfect. We never will be. God created cannabis in its natural form. It is an excellent medicine. The bike ride I did across the United States, after I talked to my doctor, and he said that his hands were tied and mine were tied, I went home, I got my family Bible out and sat down and really thought about it, because where I was getting ready to go was considered criminal, make me a criminal of the laws. And I sat down, I read through.
And
he's got a website too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he carried my bike ride, a little jog of it before it started out.
Woody Harrison did?
Yeah, he let it stay on there instead of taking it off. And
There was a couple people that took mine off. Even the bike rider, Armstrong, he left the advertisement on his side. That was cool. I tried to get him to come ride, but we were 20 miles from an event. He's retired now, but his team was riding an event 20 miles off our course.
Right.
And we were trying to meet with him at the same time, but missed him.
When's your next bike ride?
April 2008.
April?
My whole family's going to drive out to San Francisco, and then we're going to take it to LA, and then work across the southern states, and then bring it up through my hometown, and then to Washington, D.C.
Well, that's good. Who all is going to, that you know that's going now?
So far, Eddie Lepp, if he can get off, I don't know if you know Eddie Lepp, or Jack Herr.
Jack, yeah.
All right, Eddie is Jack's neighbor. Eddie got raided by the feds with 32,000 plus plants. I stayed at their place for a while. Eddie said if he can get everything straightened up, he's right now in the process of suing the government for like $87 million for that raid, because it was a botched raid. I mean, they violated his constitutional rights big time. He's going to try to help. But Jim Cohen said that he will drive. He's downstairs, and he's going to help sponsor quite a bit of it. Hugh is going to ride with me.
Right.
His girlfriend's going to sponsor him some. Right now, that's what we got together so far. And if we can somehow rig up or get a chair for Tonya, and I know they make battery chairs that'll be self-stabilizing where she can sit down on it.
Right.
She said there was some way. So if we get an electric trike for her to where she can zip along the road with us, there would be another patient right there. So we're in the process of trying to put that together. It's in its infancy stage. But we'd like to get a lot of help from folks on this next ride, help with the route. That'd be wonderful. Input of where the route should go, so it's most functional and most effective.
You got a website?
www.j4j7, that's J numeral 4, J numeral 7.info.
Alright.
It's got stories of Journey for Justice 1, that man just passed away, that did the first Journey for Justice. My brain goes blank sometimes. I was Journey for Justice 7, and I was the first patient to actually take it across an entire United States. Everybody else just did like town to town or just a state event. I was the first patient to take it from one coast to the other.
Oh, okay.
I pushed it, yeah.
What about the industrial side of it?
The industrial side, oh mercy. When I went through what we call our Corn Belt, Kansas and Missouri, parts of Tennessee, that area was amazingly barren. The global warming that's taking place on our planet is very critical, folks. If you want to get a real taste of what's happening to our planet, get on a bicycle and slow down and see what's happening. When I went across the United States, a lot of people were just interested by why I was riding, and I got into explaining why. And I was in farm country, and the folks brought up to me, they said, have you ever heard of industrial hemp? And I got real excited. And I said, yeah, that's the cousin to medical marijuana. It's its brother. And they were like, yeah, and what can you do about getting that legalized, Mr. Locke? And I said, you know, I said, I think there's a big problem going on with that both the farmers of America and us patients are facing, because they know if they allow the medical patients to have their medical cannabis, then that's going to open the industrial aspect of cannabis wide open like a box of jelly beans. Because there's no getting high on industrial. We're talking about fabrics, paper, lacquers, glue, clothing, textile, and oil. And I believe that's the biggest thing right there is textile and oil. Because when you get into the cannabis plant, it's not just for smoking. When you get into the industrial aspect of it, the non-smoking aspect of it, you got an incredible plant there that blows soybean away, blows corn away. Before DuPont came out and introduced nylon to the United States and took over the market, hemp was the king. Hemp outlasts nylon. It's stronger than nylon. But because of petroleum oils, you can produce nylon. And here's the trick. Industrial hemp is a regenerative source of energy, and this planet is in a desperate need for that source. Because without that source, we die. That's simple, folks. If we don't have energy like a human body, you don't put food in it, it dies. If we don't have that oil, which Mr. Bush himself said we are addicted to, said on national TV, the United States is addicted to oil. And since we're having this drug war, and if we're addicted to oil, then we need to face this problem too. The best way to face that problem is get us off the Middle East nipple, put our American farmers back to work. You let those farmers who know the best how to grow, and they've known they're the ones that brought this country out of the dust. If it wasn't for our farmers, period, the world would not be.
Yes.
So we need to let our farmers and the common knowledge they know and the mastery of the land they know,
Yes.
and let them do their thing. And when they can show you the world, just as China's doing right now with industrial hemp, you better let us American farmers do the same thing, because China's coming back up on its feet with that plant. And that plant brought us out of the dark age, and if we don't start utilizing that, this great country, the United States, is going to return to the dark age. And the only people who we're going to have to blame, we the people, us, we're going to have to blame is ourselves, because we're allowing these politicians and the people that we have elected in office do our farmers wrong. You need to turn them folks loose. They know what to do with that plant. It's not going to put a mass flood of marijuana on the streets because something else they hide from the American public. You let the American farmers put industrial hemp back to work. There's going to be so much pollen blowing off those plants, nobody's going to be able to grow the smokable kind outside anymore. And then you're going to have to go indoors. So if the government wants to use the excuse that legalizing industrial hemp is just going to create a big flood of marijuana on the streets, they're mistaken, because the fact is totally opposite. You don't smoke industrial hemp, I mean, we could go for hours and
Hours and
and
hours.
hours.
That piece of paper I give you, that is Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. How much do you know about it?
Well, I know a little bit. They endorsed my bike ride. They felt they're looking at legalizing all drugs because the ridiculous money that's being spent on the prison systems. I mean, basically, we're turning America into a giant prison system. And that money could be paid, instead of us cattling up our people like cattle, which we ain't. We need to be putting that money into our farmers. I mean, we're spending trillions and billions of dollars on man-hours, prisons, when all this money could be put into making ourselves independent as a country, letting the farmers do their thing. Letting them do their thing, we're going to be cleaning up our own environment. Farmers ain't going to have to use tons and tons of fertilizers. They're not going to have to use tons and tons of pesticides. So what that's going to do, that's going to mean that in a few years, our streams, our creeks, our rivers, our lakes are going to start cleaning up. I watched a report on Link TV, and everybody needs to watch Link TV. If you want to watch TV without borders, it'll blow Fox, CNN, all them out of the water. Link TV is straight up. We have put in the past, since early 1900s, us using fossil fuels, we have basically accelerated the Earth roughly 600-700 years ahead of its time in its normal cycle. We've advanced the global change that's going to take place on our planet. The North and South poles are like the Earth's kidneys. All the shit that we've been dumping in our rivers gets to the oceans. And the only way the Earth can take care of herself is to wash that stuff up with her currents and her flows and store it up in the North and South Pole in deep frozen packs. Here recently, we're finding out through Link TV's investigation that the people that live in those uppermost parts of the world, where it should be very, very clean, are coming down with PCP poisonings, amazing fertilizer poisonings. And they're going like, how are we getting these poisonings? Well, the earth has to store this stuff somewhere, because we're poisoning the hell out of her, and she's got to take care of herself. But now, the crisis that's coming is these Eskimos that are getting sick and giving us a forewarning of what's coming. When those ice caps do melt, all that high concentrations of fertilizers and herbicides and pesticides, along with the salt, the lowering of the salt solidity of the ocean, more fresh water that goes into the solidity of our ocean and kills the solidity, that's going to kill our ocean, along with all the chemicals that are stored up. We're in trouble. So if we do not get off the fossil fuel, let our farmers, I'm going to repeat myself again, let our farmers do our thing. We let our farmers do our thing, we won't have to send our soldiers over to Iraq and try to claim something that belongs to somebody else and use our lives and allow Bush to lie to us. We need to let our farmers get this country back online.
Right on. Right on. Well, when's that bike ride one more time?
April 2008. We're still working on an exact date, but it'll be the first week of April. My family and all head out there, and Hugh and everybody, and hopefully all the other people that'll join in. We'll meet together in San Francisco at the Golden Gate Bridge, and we'll roll south to Los Angeles, and then we'll roll across the southern states through New Mexico, Arizona, Texas. We're going to go into Louisiana, because Louisiana is an example of just how bad the government's got. They have treated those people down there. It's terrible. It's a mess. And we're going to take it to Washington. From there, we're going to go up northeast and take it to Washington.
What's your web address?
www.j4j7.info. info.
All right. Be sure to tell all the voters to get out and vote and learn who to vote for.
Yeah, folks. It's real important. This country was built upon common folks, good old American folks. I think we all can see what's going on. We need to stop this denial thing inside our heads. We need to wake up. We have been lied to, and it's taken a few years for all these lies to start coming out on the table, and we know what is going on up in our White House is wrong. Those people don't belong in office. And we need to get people that are not connected to corporations. We need just grassroots people that got calluses on their hands.
Learn who to vote for.
Yeah, we need regular, real people in office and learn who we are voting for. Don't take just their choices they put out. If they're going to just give you with this candidate and both are rotten, then come up with your candidate and get them in there. Get real people in office. That's what we need to fix this planet. Because right now the politicians and all their greed and their corporations, they have ruined us in this world. And we have lost a lot of respect among our rest of our neighbors in this world. Peace.
Here are final results of our Local 12 poll. 88% of you support legalization of medical marijuana. 12% say it should stay illegal. About 6,700 votes today, both online and by phone.